And there we go. Hello and welcome to our exclusive Toonami Squad podcast sessions interview episode. How's it going? I am your host, Eric Casey, also known as ZRockstar5 on Twitter.
I am Joshua Mathieu, founder and creator of Toonami Squad. You can find me on Twitter at JMV_70056.
Hi, I'm Samster299. You can find me on Twitter at Samster299.
And with us on this very special episode is Jon Allen from voice acting from Fooly Cooly season 2. How's it going, Jon?
It is going well, sirs. And everybody that's present. Thank you. How are you?
Doing good. Hanging in there.
On Hangouts.
Yeah, hanging out. Well, again, like we were mentioning before, we appreciate you coming on, and we're just going to dive into questions here. We have about 23 questions, and we're going to try to get through as many as possible.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so question 1. How was the process like for you on Fooly Cooly Progressive compared to any other projects that you've done in the past?
It was fantastic. It was recorded in Burbank with NYAV Post. I will say that working on a show like this, I'm used to animes being a little bit different and out there. I think it's fair to say that Fooly Cooly is, and their style is towards the top of the list as far as weirding you out. And there were a lot of times that I wasn't quite sure of what was going on, but luckily I had 3 people directing me, which isn't usually the case, but that helped craft it to where it needed to go.
What was that for? We're getting an echo from somebody. I'm gonna double check that. Still echoing. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But pretty much.
I'm not hearing the echo on my end, so
No,
I'm not sure if anybody else is.
Yeah,
Okay, I think it's gone now. Or not. Gotta love technical difficulties. Well, anyway, I think we'll live with it.
Okay.
Well, pretty much what I was going with was that is it that like each episode was directed by a different person? Was that why there was like 3 different directors, or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
When I would come in to record as Mori and the various other ancillary things they would have me do, my primary director, of course, was Michael. But also in the room overseeing the recordings was Maki, the producer, and Stephanie Shea was also present when I would record as well. So, okay. They would... Sometimes they would go back and change the writing a little bit. Sometimes there was I don't know how to phrase it exactly, but everybody had a little bit of input on it in the interest of us putting out as good of a product as possible that was as faithful to the source material as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, with that, what was this is question 2, what was your favorite episode to work on, would you say? Considering
I think it would have to be episode 3, Stone Skipping, because it kind of,
okay.
My character, Mori has the most of an arc within one episode. You have the big surprise that he has a date, and then you have another surprise, which I won't spoil in case there's anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But it's kind of a very fun reveal, and it's a beach episode. It was the one I was looking forward to recording most because Stephanie Shea had told me about it, and when she told me what it would entail for Mori, I was all about it. So.
Okay,
it gave
cool.
me a lot to do comedically. There are times that Marco and Mori's characters are a little bit more in the background compared to the crazy stuff from Haruko, Ide, Hibajiri.
Mm-hmm.
But in that one, Mori got a little bit more of a chance to shine as far as screen time. So.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Huh. Okay. And with that, we go into question 3, which is, will you be involved with Fully Cooley Alternative if you can talk about it at all?
I will not be. I think it's safe to
Okay.
confirm that because they've revealed the casts and all that. Not that I wouldn't be if asked, but they the casts, with the exception of like Kari Walgreen and possibly Jinyu's actress as well. They've got like Xanthe, Robert, Yuri, and I on the progressive side of things, and then on alternative you have like Erica and I believe Patrick Seitz and whoever else. To keep the I don't know, just to keep it's only like 6 episodes each season, so they gotta give everybody their chance to shine, I suppose.
An alternative class, as you will, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
But no, I would have done it if asked. The closest thing to a collaboration there I can say is for example, at Anime Expo, where I believe somebody from your group was in attendance. They at the last minute, Maki decided to invite me to be part of the panel. So, I was on stage with the cast from Progressive as well as from Alternative. But that's about, as much as the worlds would collide in that respect, as far as my involvement.
Gotcha. Okay. Question number 4 is what was it like to work with Maki and the rest of the cast and crew of Fully Cooley Progressive?
Well, I didn't get the chance to work with the cast directly.
Okay.
If they had come in to, as is the case with most anime, we were recording one person at a time.
Right.
I will say that if they had already come in to record, it was fun to play off of their performances in addition to working with the Japanese reference, which I would listen to before every take.
Right.
As it pertains to Maki, she was just a joy to be around. She brought so much positive energy to the studio, along with Michael and Stephanie. And perhaps more importantly is the fact that she brought dogs. And they are adorable. I miss... one of the things that made me sad when I was wrapping up on Fully Cooley Progressive was that I wasn't going to get to see Nemo and Marbles so much anymore. I might run into Ipadoo, Stephanie's dog, but when they actually played the collage at Anime Expo with everybody interacting with the dogs, that just made me miss them that much more because they're such sweethearts.
Aww.
I'm a big dog lover, big animal person.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, they dropped in when we interviewed Maki during the Ghost in the Shell interview way back when. So we totally get where you're coming from. They are adorable.
Yeah, they're really sweet, and I believe they're rescued dogs as well, so they're that much more docile. And
yeah, I think she mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, question number 5 is: was Mori the only character from Fully Cooley that you auditioned for, or were there others that you auditioned for and hoped that you got?
No, it wasn't the only character that I auditioned for that series. When I don't believe I had the opportunity to read for Fully Cooley Alternative, but for Fully Cooley Progressive, I also read for Ide and Marco. And I still have those recordings. I like to archive my auditions a bit.
Okay.
The email also had Hibajiri and Jinyu, but I kind of had a hunch I wasn't going to get them, so I didn't read for the ladies.
Fair.
Although I will say on that note that Mori is voiced by a female actress in Japanese, so I mean, there's that.
Oh, that's gonna be fun to hear when that comes out.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a departure, so I was worried how the fans might react. But luckily enough, most fans in America haven't seen the Japanese one yet, so I had the luxury of being heard first for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Josh, do you want to take over?
Yeah. How did you get the opportunity to work in Fully Clear Progressive?
Well, I'd already worked with Stephanie on a couple of projects. The first being Gundam Thunderbolt Bandit Flower, where I'm Philip Kaufman. And another one which I don't think I'm cleared to talk too much about yet, so I won't. But you know, I got the chance to audition like everybody else, except with the possible exception of Kari. I'm pretty sure she didn't have to re-audition
Right.
for Haruko. I would venture dollars to donuts that, you know, the plan was to just bring her back, of course, because it's such an iconic sound.
Right.
It is.
Next question. Fully Cooley is known for some rather energetic performances. Is it challenging to keep that energy when recording lines?
It can be. Certainly. The only thing that was maybe draining at times was if there was a time or two where maybe I wasn't we were just really stuck on a line and not moving forward. That can be maybe a little bit draining if I'm, you know, trying every which way to approach a specific line. But otherwise, no, energy isn't usually my problem. You know, that for other especially because with anime, it's usually I don't know, 2 to 3 hour sessions as opposed to like 4 hour sessions for like a prelay cartoon.
Right. Okay. Next question. Is there anything you would like to share with us about Fully Cooley Progressive and your character?
Other than his
Like
fashion
they got to
statement.
see a lot of
Yeah.
my character, so I don't know what else I could provide. Did you guys have a question about like funny things in the booth, or I mean, I could mention that here. I could mention that on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, it was just, you know, a lot of the visuals would just throw me for a loop, and they wouldn't really prepare me for them necessarily. You know, Michael would just be like, okay, so we're going to start you off on line 60. And then I look at the footage and Mori's a zombie, you know, and I'm like, wait, are we going to talk about this maybe? Because I have some questions. And they, you know, he would let me in on the fact that, hey, well, it's sort of a fantasy of Hibijiri's, and that's why she's imagining him being dead. He's not actually dead. I'm like, okay, but good Lord, why is he so much fatter? They'd be like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, it's like he's not really, you know, his digestive system doesn't quite work in the same way now. I know he's eating brains, I guess. But I guess it's just, you know, you retain water more as a zombie. I think that was the explanation he gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Have you seen the first season of Fully Cooley before working on Progressive?
Have I seen the full season of Progressive?
Have you watched the first season before you did Progressive? The original Fully Cooley.
Fully Cooley Original, as I believe it's being called.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was, I believe in high school at the time. I didn't follow it too closely because I kind of couldn't. It was so off the wall and I couldn't quite figure it out. So, I can't say that I've watched that one like over and over or anything. It's sort of, I just couldn't make sense of it, you know? I don't think Wikipedia was as strong at the time to help fill in the blanks and give me answers. So there's that. But I have seen it, yeah.
Okay, next question. Are there any recording booth or crazy, funny behind-the-scenes stories you can tell us when recording Fully Cooley Progressive?
Well, that's the one I did a second ago, yeah.
Well, any other stories?
Any other ones?
We want to hear all the behind-the-scenes shenanigans.
Well, let me think. Let me think of a good one here. I mean, I was a fan of Michael's work from Venture Brothers. So, there was one time he was directing me and he was trying to give me, not necessarily a line reading, but like, kind of going into a performance a little bit to help me ascertain what it was he was getting at from a directorial standpoint. And as he's doing it, I'm like, oh my God, it's like Dean Venture is directing me. So I think at one point I kind of did like an impression of Dr. Venture back to him, and it was, one of those, "You are never to call your father a crumb bum, Dean," like one of those things. So we, gee, Pop. We would have fun. We had a lot of fun. I had such a blast working with him and everybody else.
I just imagine like two voice actors that try to do impressions of one another, or like a fan, like someone, like I could just imagine like Mark Hamill and Troy Baker together doing their Joker impressions together, and just seeing how that goes, and being like, "Oh, you're pretty good," or "Yeah, you're doing pretty good." I just
that would
find
be
that kind of
interesting.
curious with like voice acting, and how often that happens. It does it like freak professional voice actors out, like some of the old veterans that have been there forever, and like some new guys come up and trying to do like the same impressions and do them either the same or better.
Well, sometimes it's to an extent, being able to impersonate somebody else in the business is a necessary beast. Like some folks are booked so often that there's a project that they're just not available for. So a couple of us know that if we need to refer someone else who's like the closest match to our own voice. So there's that as it pertains to like doing impressions of each other. And then there's other times we do it to bust balls a little bit, and they're not always the most flattering impression. But,
of course.
What are we gonna do?
Impressions. That's what they are, right?
Yeah.
All right, Sam, you want to take?
To Funimation, I was reading for Yuji Kaido and Blue Gender, and Chris Sabat, who was directing me through that audition, noticed that it sounded a lot like John Bergmere's Tenshinhan. So he actually invited John into the room while I'm still in the booth, and John's like, "Yeah, you wanted to see me, Chris? Yeah, we will no longer be needing your services. We have found a John Bergmere stunt double." And he plays back the audition with me going like, "Tri-beam, Jutsu, get down from there." That's tough.
Wow, that wasn't bad.
He takes a second to react. He writes "loser" on a post-it note, slaps it on his chest, and walks out of the room. Gives us a second to laugh, then pops his head back in. "Hey, Chris, if you need me, I'll be, putting together a resume." And maybe that's why he didn't hire me for the writing job back in the day. I don't know. Probably not, but you never know.
Alright, so my turn for the questions. JoJo and Fooly Cooly are known for their oddities, and in your opinion, which one is more of a wild ride to you?
I'm sorry, the audio was a little bit low on that. Would you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, sorry about that. It's probably my mic.
No problem.
JoJo and Fooly Cooly are known for their oddities. In your opinion, which one is more of a wild ride to you?
Oh, jeepers. That's a tough one. I've seen more, especially because of the character that I play on JoJo, who I would dare say is like, amongst the weirdest of the bunch. I've seen more of Fooly Cooly than I have of JoJo. I think, I don't know, that's a tough one to say because it might divide the fan base a little bit. I might have to say Fooly Cooly because upon first viewing, it's a little bit easier for me to figure out what's going on in JoJo. There's a bad guy, there's a good guy who wants to defeat the bad guy for whatever reason. With Fooly Cooly, and I'm more privy to what's going on because now I'm working on it or worked on it. But I tell you, I was live tweeting it, and when episode 5 of Fully Progressive came along, I said, "So hey guys, episode 5 of FLCL 2, WTF?"
Oh yeah.
Because I'd seen my parts, but there was just so much going on that it's a lot to absorb, that show.
Yeah.
I can kind of get that, because like at least JoJo has like a base plot that you can kind of grasp onto to kind of go through the bizarreness of what happens.
Yeah.
Where Fully Cooley is just, it's all over the place. Even with the first season, it's all over the place.
I don't understand all their powers, but I get that they have them, and then like the stand attacks the other guy. I get that. They have a power inside of them that comes out and helps them fight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why guitars are being used as baseball bats, and I certainly don't know why you rev up the guitar if you're just gonna hit someone with
it. That's how you swing the bat, obviously.
I mean, you say obviously, but I don't know how obvious that
is. Yeah.
No, that's a valid point. Valid point.
Thank you. Attaboy to you.
So these next questions are more just general voiceover questions. How did you first get started in voiceover work?
I had my first cup of coffee with this stuff, by the way, and I apologize if like I'm lagging all over the place. I think maybe my Wi-Fi is not great today.
Your video is a little laggy, but your audio is perfect. Honestly, you haven't cut out at all, so you're good with that.
More important. I'm a voice actor. That's probably what's more important in this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had struck up a friendship with Christopher Sabat, who was casting director for Funimation at the time. I'd met him while I was a writer, and but I made it very clear that voice acting was something that I wanted to pursue, and he was nice enough to invite me over to Funimation years ago. It didn't quite go the way that I'd originally planned. I got some cold feet about moving to Texas at the time. It was a little bit overwhelming because I was actually still in high school.
Wow.
And such. But that was kind of the start. And then, when I went back to San Diego, I got into acting classes, I got into voiceover classes, improv classes, and I took a stab at everything. Stage, theater acting, film acting, obviously continuing to pursue voiceover, trying stand-up comedy, professional wrestling, just wanting to try a little bit of everything because I'm a big believer in things that I can't remember the name of. I was going to say diversity, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Excuse me. Versatility. Excuse me. Diversity.
That makes sense.
Versatility and diversity, and you only live once, excluding reincarnation kind of stuff. So it's like try everything because who knows what's going to resonate with you the most, and you owe it to yourself to try that. And it also helps make you that much better in the other things that you pursue. Like being good at stand-up helped me with certain forms of acting. Being good as an actor helped me to be better at act outs and stand-up and so forth.
All right.
But yeah, that's it. I haven't always. Yeah, and I think that answers the question, right?
Yeah, it does.
That was a really cool answer. That was a really cool answer.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
All right. So the next question I have is: do you have any advice for anyone who wants to break into voice acting?
Oh my God, where to begin? There's so much really to be understood. And that's always the question with these things, and it's like, what can I provide that's different from what's already out there? I think most, when they answer the question, there's a reason we usually answer it in the same way, in that, learn to act, period. A lot of time, if it's anime fans, they want to do voice acting for anime, and that's it. and therefore they have kind of a tunnel vision on that keeps them from trying out other things. But the psychology behind the principles of acting, working with the given circumstances, the who, what, when, where, why, when, and that sort of stuff, that's kind of all the same. It's just that there's nuances to how it's done, you know, as opposed to being in a booth, you're on a stage, and there's certainly things that are different about your performance in each. But yeah, it certainly behooves you to learn what you can wherever you are right now. So let's say, you know, for anime voice acting, there's really only a couple of specific regions where it's done: Texas, California, Canada, and New York, you know, as far as doing it in the English language. But, you know, every state has like theater, I think, that you could do. So you can learn, or like maybe an acting class at a community college or something like that. Start where you can, and have a means of supporting yourself until you get to the point where your art is your livelihood. So, you know, learn it. You don't necessarily have to get a master's or something before you pursue acting, but it's a very good idea to at least learn a trade so that you can live and survive as you continue to move forward, because it ain't an overnight process. I think I'm kind of living proof of that among many other people.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that question. That was really good.
Thank you.
So my next question is, what is your favorite character that you've done the voice for?
It's kind of not out yet. So there's a cartoon that I star in that's I'm told we'll get an announcement on sometime before 2018 is over.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that, because I got to do so much in it and how much it showcases me. Of the characters that I've done that you know about, goodness, there's a bunch. I think my favorite video game character that I did was Jarvis on Pain for the PlayStation 3.
Okay.
I had a pretty good run with that. I'd say about 3 years of recording, and it became such a big hit. You know, we eventually brought on people like David Hasselhoff, Flavor Flav, Elvira, Andy Dick, George Takei. So that's one that kind of holds a special place in my heart, and it pains me to know that that's now considered retro in some respect, but that was like, you know, I'd done video games before. I think that was my first time being like the guy, the main one. There's so many though. I mean, Alessi gave me so much to do as an actor. Zach in Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, you know, I was so proud to be part of the Gundam franchise, as long-standing and successful as it's been. Doing Mori, you know, I'm still amazed by just how popular Fully Cooley is, and how much it's kind of connecting me to so many people around the world. I'll throw another voice actor cliche answer at you. They're all kind of my children in a way. How do you say which one you love best?
Well, to throw a little curveball, is there a character that you hated voicing? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, good question. I can't really think of one, because I love doing this work so much that I'm just so grateful to be there.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, there were pros and cons of voicing Alessi. I mean, I'll tell you that because of some of the I wasn't sure about taking that role because of some of the imagery. I'm no prude, but it disturbed me a little bit. And that last session that we recorded of his was pretty tough on my throat, because after all the yelling and stuff, doing the whimpering of his really kind of hurt when he's like that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it gave me a ton to work with as an actor, and then JoJo is such a popular show right now that I can't really knock it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair. Interesting. Okay.
All right. Next question is, what other roles that you've done have you enjoyed? Now I think about it, probably could be like the last.
I think I answered that a little bit already, but
Yeah.
Mob Psycho was fun. I was Adano and Bandai and some ancillary stuff on that. I loved working with Chris Kaysen. We had a lot of fun in the booth. Hunter x Hunter was fun. I got to do 4 characters on that, which is my record for one series. And it was my first time working with Tony Oliver, whom I respect very much. He's actually a part of... he was also my director on JoJo, and that's a big part of why I ultimately decided to take the part, was because I trust his judgment, I respect his work, and I wanted to work with him again. And I felt like, okay, this is kind of weird, but if Tony's involved, then, you know, who am I to say no?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question, and we'll bring it over
To Billy.
Bill.
Yeah.
You there, Bill?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Let's see. First question. Do you like to watch the shows you've done acting for? Or voices?
I do. I like to see the finished product. I like to see how fans react to them. And a lot of the time they're very fun to watch. You know, there's some that I don't realize how good they are until afterwards, and now I'm watching it as a fan. First, I'm watching it to kind of review my work, but then I really get into them. Mob Psycho 100 was a good example of that, where just the art style and the visuals, just really fun to watch. So even though I'm not in that one as much, I went back and watched the whole series / season because I got really interested in it and I wanted to see where it was going.
While you're recording, like, do you see like some of the, I guess, like either finished product of the animation or like storyboards of what the animation is going to look like while you're recording? Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do. It depends on the project. If it's anime, we absolutely watch the finished footage while we are recording.
Okay.
If it's prelay, something where they're animating to our performances, I don't end up seeing. They don't. I see the scripts beforehand, and I usually know what the character looks like, but I don't. I don't get a ton of prep as far as like seeing storyboards or anything like that. That's
Gotcha.
usually. That part of their process is usually after we've recorded.
Okay, gotcha.
I should have shampooed. I'm just looking at the footage. Normally I do. I thought this was like an audio interview. Sorry, guys.
I think you look fine, honestly.
Well, thank you.
You're also wearing a very awesome shirt too. So.
You know, funny story on this. Maki gave me this shirt at the rap / premiere / cast party for the new Fully Coolies. But it wasn't this one originally. She handed me a shirt, as she did to pretty much everybody in the cast, and it was size XL. And I'm like, you know, 5'10", 186 pounds or so. That wasn't for me. And I politely let her know, hey, thank you, but I think you had Mori in mind when you were picking out the shirt size. Luckily there was a medium handy, so we did a nice little trade. And
Yeah, I was actually able to nab one of those shirts at MomoCon when they had the Fully panel. First 150 people there got a t-shirt, and it's the one.
Cool. Yeah, they gave us these tote bags as well, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I still use it.
We didn't get tote bags. We got cool posters. All right, so next
What?
question. Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you didn't hear me. We also got like these cool like Fooly Cooly posters that I was able to grab one and even get it autographed by Maki, Gary, Jason, and Gil.
Cool, yeah. I signed a bunch of those after our panel at Anime Expo as well.
Awesome. So next question.
I would usually sign along Jinyu's white hair because that was such a nice blank canvas.
Let's see. What is it in the day of working as a voice actor?
Well, if we're not talking about, I mean, every day we're working to an extent, hopefully, because there's auditions to record, most of them from our home studios.
Mhm.
But let's say I'm booked for a session. I warm up my voice as best I can. I go to the studio, sign in, have some coffee or get some kind of caffeine in me. I'm taken into the recording booth. The audio engineer adjusts the microphone to where he needs it for me. I'm shown, if it's anime, the Japanese source material, and so I can kind of tailor the performance around that. And we just go through it. We go through and record every line that needs to be dubbed into English, and then try to get it done in the amount of time that we have, and yeah, sign out, go home, wait for the check. It's kind of it.
How do I put this? You mentioned that like you guys, voice actors are constantly putting out like audition tapes and things like that when you're not like scheduled to come in. How does that side of it like work per se? Even looking at it from like an up and coming voice actor's perspective, like, do you send like audition tapes like directly to Funimation, Toei Anime, to the big name companies, or is it like to certain people? When
you're breaking in, I think you're talking about two different things there.
Okay.
When you're breaking in and you're trying to sell yourself as someone for them to even send the auditions to, yeah, you would send along a demo, possibly a resume, a cover letter, and so on. But when it's an audition that they send you, there's an email, there's usually a PDF file that has some lines and a picture of the character. You track that at your home studio, you record it, you edit it, and you email it to them.
Okay.
You can also go into the studio to record, depending on the client and their schedule. But because of the technology being available these days, and the bulk of the time, their recording booth time is taken up by actual sessions. So there's not, you're going to be recording the auditions from home the bulk of the time. Gotcha.
So it sounds like the client kind of comes to the voice actor rather than the voice actor going to the client, correct? Is that usually how it goes?
It's
Okay.
It's not quite the same thing where you can cold call them in
Okay.
that regard. That's sort of like, I don't know. They make us sign off on these things called non-disclosure agreements.
Right.
So
Okay.
you don't really have access to the audition sites unless they give you that access.
Gotcha. Okay. Huh.
Next question.
Let's see. You're also a comedian. What is
Thank
it
you.
you find
You
funniest?
skipped one.
What do you find funniest about anime?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty broad one. Suppose it depends on the anime. I do like how over the top the style can be, how free and unlimited animation is as a whole. I can't think of like a specific trope necessarily if you're looking for that, but I definitely, as much as it can be a bit of a culture shock at times, I really do appreciate their style of humor as well and performing it.
Let's see.
Does that
Have
answer
you
your
ever-
question? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it does. Thank you.
No problem.
Have you ever considered writing comedy bits about anime or being a voice actor?
I have actually, yeah. I performed stand-up at a number of different anime conventions. In one case, I actually ran like kind of an amateur stand-up open mic competition at Anime Kanji, and gave fans a chance to try stand-up. And when I perform at those events, yeah, I try to tailor my act a little bit more towards that audience, because it's a chance to give them something that they wouldn't necessarily get at a regular comedy club. I thought I had another thought on that, but I think that's kind of about it. In fact, well, what I was going to say was that there was, a period of time when I wasn't booking that many anime, but still wanted to be a part of the, I suppose, culture would be the way to describe it. And the way, that I would do that would be to perform stand-up in a way that caters to a very specific niche of fan. Sometimes my jokes would be about how I wasn't booking at the time.
Let's see. When creating a character's voice, do you draw from the Japanese voice actor as a reference, or do you create it simply by your own imagination?
No, I absolutely try to be as faithful to the original Japanese as possible, because I've been in the same position you guys have been as a fan, and I know how much of a disconnect it can be to become familiar with a character sounding a certain way, acting a certain way, and if it's too much of a radical departure, that can take the fun out of it a little bit. So I very much try to, especially with me being an impressionist, part of the fun and the challenge for me is how close can I be to the original Japanese, but still have it be for an American audience. There were certain things that, like, I wanted to do, or I offered to do, I should say, with Alessi, that were a little bit closer to the Japanese voice actor, but maybe the director would not want that. Like, he had a laugh at one point when he's attacking Polnareff that was kind of like how in One Piece the characters have a very specific, each one has their own laugh, unique laugh, I should say.
Yeah.
Like, he had one where it's like, yeah. And I kind of asked, like, do you want that? And he was like, no. So I tried to match the cadence and the tempo, but just not having it be a hard G consonant. So instead it was more like, yeah, like that, like what we did.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with like the pa la 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 line, as some fans know it. That was originally written as lick lick lickety lick 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 or something like that. Kind of like what Kyle Abert's character did on that show. And if I'd known that was like a recurring gag, I would have maybe matched that a little bit. I did try it as written, going like, but I was also trying to match the mouth work of the tongue, and it just kind of wasn't connecting. So I asked the director, I was like, hey, can I try something that's a little bit closer to the Japanese, just so you have that option? And he said, yeah, go for it. And what we got was the so that's the one they ended up using, and I'm kind of glad they did. I mean, you're not going to please everybody, but the effort was definitely there from me to try and please everybody.
Yeah. Can I just say that seeing that, I was like really hoping for like a Shining reference. It's like,
oh yeah, how could you not? Oh, pull the ref, here's
like,
Alessi.
Yeah, it's like I was like watching that.
Oh man.
Here's a little Alessi.
Yeah.
I don't think I've shown anybody this before, but I
There you go.
there's like one left in the world, and I found it. Attaboy.
All right, next question.
See, how useful was being able to do impressions like in your stand-up when you were doing voice acting gigs?
If I want to make sure I understand the question correctly, how useful was it to be able to do impressions in voiceover?
Yes.
Or use the impressions from my stand-up act in voiceover? I'm not sure if I understand.
I think the way the question's laid out is that doing impressions during your stand-up. It says,
well,
yeah,
I guess there's some characters that I've developed through stand-up that I've been able to bring to the table for voice acting. That's helped a lot. Certainly, just using the skill and keeping it as sharp as possible. Maintaining an ear for how something sounds and being able to reproduce it as to the best of my ability. That's helped a lot. Yeah.
And let's see. Noticed in your bio, you said you were a wrestler. Do you see a big crossover between wrestling and the anime community?
We're trying to have more of a crossover, actually. There's definitely similarities where the fans are. I hate to say niche audience because that has kind of a negative connotation to it, but they're very passionate about it. Because it's something I think that's a little bit more theirs. Because maybe the rest of the world hasn't quite caught on and appreciated it as as something that might have more exposure, like the NFL or something like that. It's a little bit maybe harder to find. So there's definitely. I'll tell you this: the show I'm wrestling on tomorrow. There's another anime voice actor on that. Eric Kammerer wrestles on the same show I do for Brian Kendrick's Wrestling Pro Wrestling. So yeah, there's definitely some similarities and crossovers every now and again. Like there's fans that when I do the wrestling shows, they find out I'm a voice actor. And when I go to do voice acting, there's some actors and directors that want to hear more about the wrestling side of my life.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Let's see. What's one piece of advice or personal advice you'd like to share with us and your fans today? Just anything, that's on the top.
Personal advice? There's so much. This is such a chaotic world. There's so much I would like to.
We saved the toughest question for last.
I'll just say that I should wait for this plane to go overhead. Hang on. Taking a sweet time. I live very close to the Burbank Airport these days, so there's that. Advice let's see here. Follow your dreams. Live as passionately as possible, but stay grounded and keep your feet on the ground. And outside of advice, I think the main thing that I would want to tell them is just thank you. I have so much gratitude that anyone would care about who I am or what I do, because I know they have so many options on actors to follow, things to stay in the know about in entertainment. And also, there were times that, like I said, I didn't always have the most consistent career. And there were times when I wondered if maybe the voice acting side was getting away from me or passing me by or something like that. So to have the resurgence that I've had over the last couple of years, I am extremely grateful for. and that's why I try to give the fans as much that I do, because I'm just so grateful for their appreciation. So thank you to them and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, thanks for coming on and doing this.
Oh, are
interview.
we done?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the last question.
Okay.
I wasn't kidding when I said the toughest question was last.
I don't think that was the toughest question. I mean, it's certainly open-ended. But I just there's gonna be other times for me to talk to people, so I don't gotta try to fit 100 pounds into a 5-pound bag here.
Right, of course. Well, again, that was the last question, John. We really appreciate you coming on. And again, thanks for asking us to do this. We
reaching out.
came out of nowhere, and we really appreciate it. And again, we do apologize for all the confusion leading up to it, but thank you again for following through on this. We really appreciate it.
No problem. I thought it would be fun, and I wasn't wrong. And technical stuff happens all the time, so
Mhm.
no big deal. It happens.
I'm just glad you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you. I've got to go meet up with Zemnis, Paul St. Peter. We're hanging out a bit tonight, and I've also got to finish getting ready for the wrestling match tomorrow and Comic-Con this weekend. So I will bid the adieu.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And come back anytime.
That sounds
Did
great.
you,
Got our Twitter handle.
if you want it, after it's all edited and everything, we can send it to you for you to look at it first before we make it public. If you wanted to do that, the interview.
You can do that if you want.
That'd be fine. I got no problem with that. And yeah, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks again, John. We really appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You too.
You have a great night too.
Great night.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.
And with that, this concludes this exclusive interview with Jon Allen, voice actor of Fooly Cooly Progressive.
The voice is Mori.
Voice of Mori. We'll
See you,
catch you next time. Adios, folks.